Three, two, one. Going live. Hello and welcome, my friends, to another episode of Talk Power BI. What is happening with this one? Oh, I should share my screen. So, hey, if you're watching us on YouTube, say hello and let us know where you are joining us from. That'll be great. And today's special topic is 7 Habits of Highly Effective Power BI Professionals. Of course, the title inspired by the great Stephen Covey's book. I'm a huge fan of that. Can I rattle off the 7 habits that Stephen talks about? No, but certainly, yeah, there are some really good ones there and some which I live by. So this is not a repetition of that. I haven't taken Stephen Covey's idea. This is, in fact, the 7 habits that I observed in the folks around me, and of course I feel lucky about that I'm in a position where I get to see not only the success but kind of the journey as well, and I can see and learn from that what is it that differentiates those who operate at a whole different level. So that's that. Let's see. We have quite a few folks on the phone. That's our Learn Power BI community. Hello and welcome. So we have Charles, we have Ian, Juan, Judy, Sahil. Hey Sahil, good to see you, mate. And Sophia. Thanks for being on the phone, folks. And we have quite a few folks joining on YouTube, of course. You guys. And I was trying to pop out the chat window so I can take a better look. Hold on. Ignore that. Oh gosh, it just doesn't. It's not very happy. We'll see. Sorry guys, I'm just gonna have to lean over. Alright, Juan is watching YouTube as well. Michael Gates says hello. Juan regards from Mexico as usual. Charles Elwood is here from Holland, Michigan, representing Solismatica, his company. Michael Garas is here from Canada. John says hello from Pittsburgh. Kirill is here. Hey Kirill. So Kirill has been featured on our channel. Check out his earlier YouTube video. Excellent business from UK London. James Bond is here. Oh, now I'm really honored. Boy, now I feel like I made it. If James Bond from London, UK, was that London, UK? No, James Bond is from Fresno, California. Is here. Okay. Good to have you guys. Jen Naval. All right. Awesome. Good to see familiar names, faces. Michael Gates says hello from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Charo is here. Hey, Charo. How you doing? Gokul says hello. Asif says hi. And Gary says hello from Connecticut. All right, folks. So let's get started. Let's get started today. What do we have here? So again, I've obsessed with this idea over a long time. Like, what creates success? And of course, there's this whole dimension of, well, what do you call success, right? I mean, if somebody has made a lot of money and if they're still not happy, is that success? I don't know, right? I mean, I'm not going to say that I know all the answers and I know the right answer. No, I really think that it's on us, each one of us, to kind of figure that out. Even if we put that question aside, like it is, what is success? Even if you put that aside, and you can define it whichever way you want. I mean, outer success, money, big mansion, car, whatever. Or it can be inner success, which is, I want to feel happy, peace, blessed, worthy, loved, whatever it is, right? Or maybe a combination of both. If you were to ask me, I would say that it's the inner success and the outer stuff follows. But that's just me. So cool. So what creates that? And of course, the question is that, is it something innate? And for a large part of my life, I would look at others and I'll say, oh, good for them. Look at them. They're so awesome. And I had this lens on that, yeah, they're awesome. I'm not. They have something that I don't. But I've come to question it. Not only because I saw my own journey, I found myself doing things which I never imagined I was even remotely capable of. But not just me. One person can be an exception. but I saw this again and again and again with the students that I work with. And I went, there's something there. So Stephen Covey talks about that. He didn't say 7 natural talents, 7 inborn abilities of highly effective people. Is that what Stephen Covey is? Was that what his book about? No, that's not the book he wrote. What did he write? 7 habits. And hey, I can pick up habits. And think about that. Oh no, Javi, it's hard for me. But think about that. So think about your bad habits. We have those too. Those are pretty heavily ingrained. So my bad habit, confession time, is man, late night is just not good for me. I kind of binge watch TV, just park myself in front of the TV. And again, I've been working on that. I've been working on my whole sleep pattern and all that stuff. But when I slip, and yeah, and I eat a lot of junk food. Oh gosh, I could really do without that. So anyway, right? So we have bad habits. We can have those ingrained. That means we can do good habits too. So Stephen Covey talked about habits, not inborn abilities. So I'm going, well, yeah, habits can be learned. I wanna study those. So again, finally, it just gets down to your mindset. You may not be convinced by me. You may not be convinced by Stephen Covey or anybody. And Satya Nadella talks about this. Well, he's not the one who coined the phrase, but he talks about it quite a bit, where a fixed mindset versus growth mindset. And really, he has taken this mantra and used that to transform the whole company. And we all know how Microsoft has done, kind of under his realm, right? So fixed mindset versus growth mindset. And it's something really subtle. If you ask somebody, you say, hey, Avi, hey, dude, you guy on the street, do you have a fixed mindset or do you have a growth mindset? Guess what they're going to say? What are you talking about? I have a growth mindset. Yeah, grow, right? But that's not how mindset works. How does it work? Ooh, well, we wouldn't quite go into that. But again, it's what you believe. What you believe will create your reality. So if you believe that, oh, I was born with this and that's it, that's good stuff, is for other people, clearly not for me, well, that's how you're gonna die. Sorry, break it to you. But if you say, well, if they can do it, maybe that's an example. So let's start there. Let's start kind of with that mindset. And hopefully, if you kind of listen to that and some part of it resonated with you, you're going to be a little more open to taking some of these lessons. You don't have to take all of them. Sometimes one less can be more, right? Just take one lesson. In fact, I love that. Every person I meet, I'm like, there's always one thing they can teach me. Doesn't matter whom I'm meeting. So maybe with this, set the bar low, shall we? Yeah, see if you can learn one thing. Okay, before that though, we have an announcement. Thank you. It's a thank you, guys. So I can't believe my life sometimes. It is crazy. Um, yeah, and I am living my dream, and it's unbelievable that I get a chance to make an impact, to really change lives, really. And even when I left Microsoft very early, I used this line where I said, Power BI is my excuse to change people's lives. But now it's all the more true. So, of course, one way I strive to do that is my 6 figures Power BI consultant program. And that doesn't make a good acronym, and it's a bit of a mouthful, so we just call it Pro Plus. All right. So when I say Pro Plus, that's really our highest level program, focused on creating these Power BI superheroes. And so we closed enrollment for that recently. We had 100 applications from all over the world. So again, thank you. I'm grateful. I'm glad that what I'm saying is connecting with some people. So we had to, those who participated know the bit of the craziness that ensued. We had to close applications early. In fact, we had to turn people away who were great candidates. And we hope that you guys join us next time. So again, if you missed out, then we hope you join us next time. But we are super duper excited about this. And this is the gang. Oh, and man, we just had the meet and greet call. And of course, I had talked to each one of them on a breakthrough call and kind of heard the stories. But guys, I'll admit, I ended up doing so many breakthrough calls that they all kind of melded. I'm like, I would remember things like, oh my gosh, that was so powerful. That crazy guy who wants to go on a Power BI road trip across America. But who is that? So I mixed it up. But we did a meet and greet, and it just reminded me of all of these stories, and it reminded me of how I'm in the company of sheer awesomeness, guys. I mean, these guys are pretty amazing. And yeah, well, thank you. Can't be more blessed. So if you are interested in the Pro Plus program, well, then just go to my website. You can just go to this URL, learnpowerbi.com/Pro Plus, or look in the training section. You'll find that Pro Plus there as well. And you can join the waitlist. You can join the waitlist, and that way you'll be the first to know when we open doors again for this program. All right, let's check in. Hello to Karen from India. Jason is here. Hello. Oh gosh, I'm so excited for you guys to be here. Okay, so let's dive in to the 7 habits of highly effective Power BI professionals. And the first one, interestingly, is, well, yeah, you can't quite call her a Power BI professional, but she's certainly in the Power BI community, Marianne. And raise your hand if you know Marianne. Well, I think almost everybody would. Mostly, certainly on the phone. You guys know Marianne. And if you're watching us on YouTube, but if you've ever emailed me or contacted me, it's a high chance that you interacted with Marianne. So Marianne is a key part of Team Avi. You can read more about her on our about us page. Oh, by the way, anybody that I'm mentioning, we also have links to them. So in here, if you go to About Me, you can read more about Marianne. She's pretty super duper amazing. So she's not a Power BI professional, but I think she certainly helped me to relearn, remember, go deeper into one key lesson, which is a really important habit if you want to be effective at what you do, which will listen to your customer. So I'll talk about this kind of in my context, and then we'll kind of adapt this to the Power BI professional. So as I was talking about this Pro Plus thing, it's exciting for us. It's super. It really energizes me. But man, we end up doing a lot of phone calls, talking to these people, because again, it's kind of a high-level program. I want to make sure that we're putting the right members in, because it's as much about the members as it is about the program or me. It's more about the members than anything else, if you ask me. So we end up doing a lot of calls. And yeah, as I said, I mean, sometimes it's like, I gotta end of the day, and oops, sorry guys, hit the mic. And so Marianne would prep this for me. It's like, yep, Avi, these are the calls upcoming for you, and so forth. But she did something which was just amazing, and that's why Marianne is amazing. You're gonna find that too, especially if you're in the Pro Plus program, because she pretty much runs these programs. She does run these programs. Is that at the top of that, every day she had one quote there, and somehow she put exactly what I needed to hear. And man, there were some good ones there, but there was one about listening, and I can't paraphrase it, but yeah, it was certainly important. And because yeah, I mean, sometimes, so let's kind of switch that. So that is in the context of this Pro Plus breakthrough call, but even what happens in my Power BI consulting realm, then man, I've heard this stuff so many times, believe it or not. It all kind of melts together. And here's the thing. So people come to me, my clients come to me. And again, this could be internal clients, external clients, guys. This one doesn't matter. Right? None of these ones apply whether you're a full-time employee or a consultant or something in between. What is that? No, I'm just kidding. Full-time employee, consultant, or doing both. All right, so internal client, external client doesn't matter, right? So people come to me and they talk about as if their problem is so unique. It's like, oh, I mean, man, we have this system and da-da-da, all of that. This is going on. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've heard that 1,000 times before. You're not the only one, right? So everybody thinks they're unique, but you guys, you're all the same. Everybody has the same typical data challenges. The data is spread across these multiple systems. Maybe there's a data warehouse, but that has 80% of the stuff or 90% of the stuff. But there's still that 10% which lives outside of that, which really makes it doesn't matter. I mean, that means you have to collect data from multiple sources. Oh, the data is messy and whatever, doing calculations, visualization suck. I mean, yeah, I mean, it all kind of sounds the same. And again, that's where the risk is. If you go with that, then you start tuning them out. You're not really listening to them, right? So yeah, so there's this. So I don't remember Marianne's quote, but I do remember one that I saw on a Microsoft elevator door, and it had the Chinese symbol for listen, which I mean, it was just a symbol for me, but it said that there's a Chinese symbol for listen, and what it literally means is I give you, kind of my eyes, my ears, my heart, my everything, right? So, uh, so yeah, so I think that's kind of a key lesson there, right? That you really listen to your customer. I'm going to go a little bit deeper in there. Now, just because you're listening to the customer doesn't mean that's exactly what you're going to do. All right. So here's where, guys, I mean, you are the expert. They're not. There's a reason they have hired you. You're in this role. So you're going to have to go a little bit deeper. So when you listen, you're going to have kind of these two streams going on. All right. One stream is what they want. Well, actually, that's what they're saying. So that's what they're saying. They're going to say, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. In a rare case, they wouldn't have any clue, but that's okay. Then you get to handhold them. But typically, they'll say, "Yeah," and, so they will have a whole list of wants, but then you gotta listen through. Oh my gosh, man, we're getting deep here. So another quote for you. Let's see if I can get it right. Music is the silence between the notes. Boom. Wow, that's like insane. And there was another quote by one of my coach, and he was like, "The masters teach in silence," something like that. So you have to listen for kind of, okay, fine. I could have said it easier. Read between the lines. That's what I'm trying to say, right? So read between the lines. But I got to share some cool quotes. I love cool quotes. Who doesn't? So read between the lines. So you're gonna talk about wants, and you gotta read between the lines. So you're gonna listen beyond that to the stuff that they're not saying, that they may not even know actually, which is what they need, what they want versus what they need. You got to listen to both of that. Whoa, man, that's awesome. By the way, guys, some of this stuff, if you haven't realized it, I just come up with it on the fly, which is a great thing, because that's also a separate lesson, which is to teach is to learn twice. By trying to teach it to you, it helps clarify that for me. So listen to your customer. That is number one. Thanks to Marianne, Team Avi. Marianne, thanks for everything you do. All right, are you ready for number two? All right, man. Okay, number two is teach your customer. So this is a good one. This is a good one. You're gonna like it. For a long, long time, I've used this line where we say, when I'm training, I'm also consulting. When I'm consulting, I'm also training. So I've always blurred the line between training and consulting, right? I'll tell you how. So when I'm training, I'm also consulting. So when I started, the way that I was doing training, delivering training, was on site at a company. I would be there for 1 day, typically 2 days, sometimes 3 days, sometimes longer. And I would just be running these training classes. But almost always, we would run the training class using their data set. Did it make things challenging? You bet it did. It made them very interesting, right? I mean, it's one thing to kind of go in with adventure work, say, hey guys, let me show you. Now we're going to see the bike categories. But now I'm looking at their data set, and man, I learned to enjoy it. And I learned to be comfortable with not knowing shit, my stuff on the stage. So So I would stand up there and working with their data set, and of course I wouldn't know all of it. I wouldn't know kind of the business. So I would just ask the audience, like, "Hey, what the heck is this field? Tell me. Ooh, is this important? Is it not important?" So it would be very interactive. And here's the best part: as I would walk them through examples, man, the whole class would be like energized because it's their data they're seeing, and they're seeing it come to life like they have never seen it before. Can you see that? Can you feel the energy in the class? Man, I loved it, right? So yeah, in a way, I was building a project for them, with them in front of their eyes in that training session. So you see what I meant when I said when I was training, I was also consulting. Simple, right? Let's take it the other way. When I'm consulting, I'm also training. So it is possible that there is an old school of thought, this old guard of consultants who are like leeches, blood sucking leeches. Maybe they're still out there. I don't know. Maybe they are. I think this is a dying breed because it just doesn't work. It's not the right thing and it doesn't work. So blood sucking leeches, and they attach onto you and suck out all your blood, which is money basically, right? For a company. So yeah, once you hire them, you're like totally dependent on them, and you got to ask them everything. And they come in initially maybe with big promises and say, kind of write down your requirement. They look very smart. Maybe there's a guy with like a fancy PowerPoint slide deck, and they just talk to the CEO or CFO, whatever. They don't talk to the underlings, the folks who are really going to use the system and so forth. Who cares about them? Who cares about the frontline troops? So they sell this big vision and make the CEO, CFO, whatever, sign on the dotted line for $1 million, $100 million, $1 billion. I've heard those stories too, these guys. And they say, oh yeah, we're gonna be done in 3 months. Watch us. And they spend the first month writing out all the requirements, and then they come back and have some people sign on it, and yeah, yeah, and then they come back in 3 months and they give you something, and then you go, what is that? I mean, that's not kind of what I asked for. And like, no, 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 you look, use your requirements and data. And you're like, no, that's not what I meant, or something. Anyway, crazy thing happened and say, you know what, it's going to take another 3 months or another 6 months. And it really never ends. And even if the solution is done, then you have to pay them to maintain it, right? So now you hire them and you pay them lots of money up front, but now you're paying them. So Microsoft, we were paying these guys a few million a year. I think it was like 4 million a year just to maintain a solution. Like, really? What is it? So that's the old world, right? That's the old world, and who cares about that? So the way we run, the way we roll is when I'm consulting, it is my number one goal to make my client, and again, it could be internal client, external client. Don't get hung up on that. You could be an FD, you could be a consultant, to make them self-sufficient. My goal is to empower them. Simple. So the way I operate is I try to do as much knowledge transfer as possible during the consulting. And so again, my early life, man, there was a lot of travel. I'm glad I'm over that phase. So actually, I wouldn't mind a little bit of that. So I was traveling a lot on site, and some of these were training engagements, so some of these were consulting engagements. But they were time wise, they were pretty similar. I would be there for 2 days, 3 days, 3 days, and we would just sit down in a conference room and build out a solution. I will say that, man, the adrenaline rush that I've felt in those engagements is very little that compares to that. Maybe skiing downhill at full speed with my daughter. That comes close. Yeah, that probably tops it. But yeah, there are a few things. Man, it's such a rush. So yeah, it was amazing. Like how in 3 days something comes together, and but at that time, what I would do is all the time, we would be in a conference room, and I would be projecting my screen. Now I will say again, same as training guys, same as training with their data set. This was really awkward at the beginning. I was like, man, they can see everything. Right? It's like, I have no clothes, right? It's almost that feeling. Like they can see what I'm doing. If I'm struggling with the formula, they see it. But it's okay. Yeah, it's all right, right? So and yeah, so that's how I would be doing the knowledge transfer. So they would see everything on the screen, and not just that. As I'm working on something, I would think out loud. And you've seen me do that in Talk Power BI when I do Q&A. As I'm solving something, I think out loud. And you all know how helpful that is. Because Oftentimes, well, not oftentimes, but sometimes it has happened where I have not been able to solve the problem. Not live on Talk Power BI, but a lot of you have said that how it helped you just to, kind of see my thought process, to be able to see it. That, oh, this is the way Avi is approaching the problem. So I would do the same thing. So I would tell them not just what I'm doing, but why I'm doing it, the decision point that I'm considering, and all right. So all that stuff. So that's when I say when I'm consulting, I'm also training. So when I'm training, I'm consulting. When I'm consulting, I'm training. It's really kind of a blur. So let's come back to Charles. And so Charles is pretty phenomenal, right? So he told us this crazy thing, which is so simple, but so powerful. By the way, guys, anybody that I mentioned, their links are in the description below. So if you want to kind of connect with them, yeah, I don't know, I hire them, get some help, connect them on LinkedIn, whatever. The links are in the description of the video you're watching right now. So Charles does something which is small but amazingly powerful. Again, less is more, guys. Sometimes these one thing can make all the difference. So now I'm mostly about remote consulting, and I love it, right? So the idea is you kind of work on your own time, wherever you want. I mean, as long as you have high-speed internet, which I like because my parents are from India. I'm now based in the U.S. for many years, but my parents are from India, and I go visit them for months well, not months, but a month at a time, right? So, so I love this world where we can be anywhere in the world, and our clients can be anywhere in the world, and of course, it lets you reach a lot more people too. Lets you work on interesting projects. So we're mostly in remote consulting, and typically the way remote consulting works, excuse me, guys, is you spend 1 hour online with the client in a web conference call. And you show them kind of the work that was done. And as you're working on that, you probably would have some questions. Always happens. And some of them maybe you got answered by email or chat or whatever with your client, but some it's just hard to type those questions. It's just I want to show somebody and point at it and ask it, hey, what the heck is this, right? So I would ask them some questions, get the feedback about the work that I presented, talk about the next step, and just go from there. Agile cycle, pretty much weekly sprints. So yeah, they get to see week-to-week progress. So in this, Charles made a minor modification, which has earned him huge fans. And it's such a simple trick. Anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. So what Charles does is before that weekly meeting, he would record a really quick video, just a few minutes. Loom is the software that he uses. I like that too. There are a bunch of other softwares, screen recording, just Google it, right? Loom is good. So just record a Loom video, put your face in it. Come on, guys, it's okay. Just put your face in it. It really adds that personality, that touch. Charles and I have talked about that, how that really helps the connection. So put your face in it. If your face kind of shows in the corner in Loom, but then you're recording a screen, and then you just walk them through really quickly the work that was done, and kind of a little bit of why and so forth. If you made some decisions like, hey, I was debated between this and this, and I chose this way because of this. Don't make it long. Just quick is good. Now, if you think about it, we were doing this on that live call, but sending this video has earned Charles raving fans. In fact, he talked about how the first time or the first few times he did it, these guys would be so excited, his clients, and they would be showing all of their peers. They were like, oh my God, look at this guy. He sent me this video, right? And there's something there. So again, there's that personal touch there. And that's why I think, put your face if you do a Loom recording. So there's something about that personal touch. But even if you look at it from a very practical point of view, it has got a lot of advantages. Instead of a live call is different. I mean, even if you record it, it doesn't work the same way. But this one is going to be a compact video that they have forever. And they can go back to it. They can rewind it. If they didn't get something, they can, quick, So yeah, it's very, very useful. So again, the idea is to kind of teach your customer, which I had to begin with anyway, kind of consulting, training, all of that. But the small trick can make it really effective and can create huge fans out of your clients. And again, when I say clients, it could be internal, it could be external. Wow. Oh man, I better get moving here. Number two, but hey, you can see this is powerful stuff. And this is what we started at the top. Like, is this inborn ability to be successful, to be more impactful, to be a Power BI pro? Or are these habits you can learn? Clearly, in Charles' case, it's such a simple thing you can do. All right, what number are we on? Oh, I'm glad I numbered them. Number three. So, number two was teach the customer. Why stop there, mate? Hey, we did say to teach is to learn twice. Frankly, I think like 80-90% of my knowledge has come from teaching others. I only knew 10%, and then it grew by teaching others. So why stop at teaching just your customer when you can teach the world? And that's what Kenneth does. So my Kenneth is pretty phenomenal. Oh gosh, what an incredible story. He has shared that on our YouTube channel as well. And he has reinvented his career not once, but twice. In fact, he started off as a blacksmith. He started off as a blacksmith, and then I think he reinvented it around kind of databases, computers, and then he, of course, reinvented it in terms of Power BI. And his website, linked below in the description, is personal Power BI trainer. As far as I know, he's the world's only personal Power BI trainer. And think about that like a personal trainer at the gym. You hire them to get results faster. And that's why you would hire Ken as well. So he does that. So he, of course, does that on a one-on-one setting. Kind of he is teaching these people. But he does so much more. So he has other websites he runs where he kind of learns from wherever he can, like learns from me, but he's also a fan of Marco Russo, Alberto Ferrari, the Italians. Who isn't? Right? And on a whole bunch of other sources, right? So knowledge is knowledge, right? Doesn't matter where you get it from. And then he kind of just, kind of churns it a bit, absorbs it, and then blogs about it, posts about it. And not just that. Wait, there's more. And he's pretty active on the Power BI forums. In fact, if you've ever hung out on forums, probably asked a question, you've probably interacted or seen Kenneth Styler there. I think he's one of the top contributors there. In fact, he was invited to like some kind of an inner circle for them as well. So yeah, mate, why just teach the customer when you can teach the world? Now, there are at least two good things that I can think of that is going to happen out of this. One, you're going to get better. Again, to teach is to learn twice. Just by the act of trying to teach it, convey it to somebody is going to raise your awareness and understanding to a whole new level. One you cannot touch by yourself, right? So it's like, oh yeah, I get it. So obviously I'm from India, so English isn't my native language. It's Hindi. So sometimes I struggle with some words. Like last night, my daughter had oh gosh, I can't say it, choir, and I couldn't kind of say the word, like choir. I think that's the way to say it. So I struggle with that, and sometimes I struggle with kind of definition as well. So now my kids are kind of savvy, and of course they have Google and their phones and all this stuff. But when they were younger, they would stumble on a word or something or something like that, and they would ask me what it means, and I'll be like, I know what it means, but I can't explain it to you. So I'm sure that the same thing has happened to you as well. But that just means that your understanding is really not at that deep level. Right? So then, I know what that means, but I can't explain it to anybody. But that's where you put in the work. That's where you say, well, what if I did try to explain to somebody? How would I do it? And again, if it's okay, if for first time it's really messy, but you kind of do it again and again, and you get better. So that's Kenneth Tyler, Teach the World. That's one benefit. It deepens your learning. The other one is such a big benefit. In fact, I feel that could be the one thing that differentiates, the good to great, and that gap is wide, my friends. Right? So think about the greats in boxing. What name comes to mind? Muhammad Ali, right? Come on, right? The greats were only a few, ones that everybody knows. Good, yeah, lots of people are good. Who cares, right? So the good to great, yeah, I mean, the field really narrows and the gap, mate, is wide. How do you traverse that gap? By doing this. Because when you're teaching others, you're basically telling stories. So, of course, those of you who've gone through kind of the Pro Plus stuff, that's what I talk about. In this day and age, You can't just do good work. You gotta tell great stories. Do good work, tell great stories, right? So yeah, I don't care if you yeah. So this is what it is. This is basically storytelling, and that's gonna make you an authority. That's gonna elevate you from good to great. That's number three. That's Kenneth Tyler. Again, links in the description. Number four, Grace Dio. Constant feedback. So there's a bit of a backstory here. So, folks, I run the Pro Plus program, and man, there are lots of touch points in Pro Plus. In fact, there's so much stuff in there that one of the first things that we talk about, so I talk about it on the breakthrough call, I talk about it inside the course, where we talk about overwhelm and how to deal with it. And I talk about, hey, there's a lot of stuff in there, but don't feel like you got to do it all, because guess what? It's not about, you're not going to get a certificate of completion. That's not what you're in this program for, are you? Right? I mean, the goal is in the title, six figures Power BI consultant. So it shouldn't be like, oh, I completed all the training, I attended all the meetings, and I was all of that stuff. No, it's not like a checklist thing. Less is more. Deep breaths, my friend. Less is more, right? It's a few things that make the biggest difference. Less is more, and there's this other thought. So less is more, but then I would be totally anxious about which ones should I focus on. You gotta let go of that as well. Again, deep breaths. And say with me, what I need will come to me. That is such a liberating thought. Another way to put it, and I also love that, oh gosh, let me see if I can get it right. I'm always in the right place at the right time. Right? So there's anxiety like, oh, I wish I would have started earlier. Oh, I should have known more Power BI by now. Oh, I should have had a client. Just stop it, my friends. Just stop it. You're always in the right place at the right time. When you're centered like that, that's when you're the most powerful. All right, so that's a Pro Plus program. So it's got lots of touch points. You have a Pro Plus meeting. There's a group consulting call. There are private calls, and of course there's a Talk Power BI where you get to hang out, and then there's Slack channel and so forth. So, that all of that is there, but I still dropped the ball a little bit. So, at the end of the Pro Plus program, I sent out an email saying, "Hey guys, let me know how I did. Right? What do you think about the Pro Plus program?" And Grace talked to me, and well, I think the way she put it was that it kind of broke her heart. So I remember the first conversation with Grace, and it was so powerful. Grace is such an amazing person. Of course, he was featured just a few Fridays ago, and man, that was a powerful call. That was a really powerful call. And you can see, right? So Grace has so much to offer. And I remember even in the first call, we like really connected, and we talked for like more than an hour. I remember that was my like last call of that whole enrollment period, but I was kind of exhausted. But with Grace, it was awesome. But after that, things kind of didn't go as great as I wanted them to, and as Grace would have wanted them to. Right? We both wanted the same thing. So Grace said, yeah. So then Grace talked to me about how she gets feedback in for her training sessions. So go back to her talk a few Fridays ago, how to build a Power BI training business. And even if you're not focused on building a Power BI training business, the talk is still phenomenal. It's going to give you a lot of ideas. So she talked about how well, there may have been some surveys and stuff that is not what caught my attention, but there was a lot of personal touch in the sense that feedback is kind of tricky. You send them a survey and people say something. I mean, I don't know, right? But you get them talking, especially in a private setting, and man, then they really open up, and then they really tell you, right? So she talked about this stuff. She talked about how some of the best feedback she would get is when she does in-person training, based out of Singapore, by the way, and at the lunch hour, she would kind of pull one person aside and just Gotta talk to them really casually. Hey, yeah, how do you think's going? Oh, okay, all right. Well, yeah, was that part clear? Oh, okay, yeah. All right, cool. Well, how do you think we can adjust it? Something, right? I mean, I'm just making that up. But again, that a small thing. So, guys, I mean, here's the balance, right? I mean, it's possible that you have a lot going on. I know I have a lot going on, but I really think it's kind of worthwhile. And I'm not saying so. Of course, we have like 1,000 plus students in the Learn Power BI program, and man, we already do so much. We do like a whole day of welcome call every month and all that stuff, right? So we have a lot of touch points, but I can't forget that. So with Pro Plus, I'm gonna try to make it a priority for me that to create those lunch hour moments. Now we're remote, but I think that's still possible. Where I say, hey, so yeah, mate, how you doing? Yeah, what do you think overall? Right, so I'll try to create those moments, and of course, yeah, if you want to do formal surveys and stuff, you can do that. That's up to you. Um, I have mixed feelings about that. But again, right, so maybe this actually is good because it connects back to number one, right? So listening is great, but you also need to create opportunities for them to speak up. So let's go with that. So constant feedback, and how do you do it? Well, you create opportunities for them to provide kind of candid feedback. Actually, you know what? This is crazy because I'm going to connect number one and number four even more directly, yeah, in a different way. And so this is something kind of unexpected but expected. I mean, it wasn't surprising, but well, okay, unexpected. Forget it. All right. So I'll tell you what happened. So in our Pro Plus program, but these guys we spend usually it's supposed to be a 30-minute call, but we often spend like an hour on the call talking to each other. So I get to know these people, and they have known me for a long time. They have a connection with me, right? And of course but but what happens, as I've said, Marianne is the one who runs these program, so they end up interacting with her quite a bit. So something really interesting happened, which was unexpected but unsurprising. How is that? I nailed it. Dang, that feels good. Yeah, it was unexpected. We didn't expect it to happen, but when it did happen, it didn't surprise us. It made sense. So what happened was that folks would reach out to Marianne and say something about something which wasn't quite working that great. Or maybe, some feedback on maybe this could work differently. It was really valuable feedback, but due to some reason, they were not coming to me. Yeah, they were going to Marianne. So yeah, think out of the box. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of surveys. I do surveys. Maybe we need to bring in another expert and straighten me out on surveys. But with Grace, you talked about that creating a lunch hour opportunity. And sometimes another way you can create an opportunity is they have a touch point other than you. And especially if you're like a solopreneur or something like that, then yeah. So if you're in a full-time employee, I think a manager would be a horrible, horrible, worst idea ever alternate touch point because they wouldn't open up to them. One of your peers, if you can recruit them, would be great, right? So if you're working, with somebody, so I was working with Sabrina, and I would say, hey, Sabrina, hey, do you mind once in a while go talk to one of my internal clients? You can do it that way. And heck, we can follow the exact same model possibly with consulting as well. So of course, if your consulting team is bigger, then like different people, like I don't know if Jack is working on a project, then John can check in on Jack's clients, or vice versa, something like that. And even if you're a solopreneur, which is kind of my style of doing things, it gives you the most flexibility. I love it. I love that life. You can recruit your other solopreneur friends. So I think we got two things out of it. One is constant feedback, great idea, but how do you do it? You can create those lunch hour opportunities and also be open to other ideas of creating it. One of the ideas is that instead of you, it's somebody else talking to them. Man, this was good. And as I said earlier, some of the stuff I come up on the fly, and I understand it as I'm teaching to you, as I'm trying to teach it to you. Okay. All right. Now, this is not, I didn't mess up the slide. This one is Grace again, just because she's so awesome. She's got lots, we got lots to learn from her. Connect the dots. Anybody knows where that phrase comes from? Ooh, quiz. Let's see if somebody on the phone can guess. Boy, the chat has been blown up on our on the Learn Power BI folks. Sorry guys, I haven't had a chance to look at that, but let's see. Yeah, so anybody knows where that phrase comes from? Okay, I can't wait for the YouTube folks because sorry guys, there's a lag. I think there's like a minute lag. So that phrase comes from Steve Jobs and his most famous, I don't know, well, one of his best speeches, one of my favorite speeches of his, which I think is a commencement speech at Stanford. And it's a beautiful speech, extremely powerful. But he talks about connecting the dots. And of course, that guy has such an amazing story, and he's an amazing storyteller. Guys, do good work, tell great stories. Steve Jobs. Case closed. So he talked about his story of how he was adopted, and I think he realized later in life that he was adopted or something. And his whole story of adoption was his mom had given him away. That sounds kind of cruel, but yeah, I mean, she was in a situation where she couldn't keep the child. I think she was unmarried, if I remember the story right, and she gave him away. But she wanted to make sure that the family, he's going to get an education. So so she wanted to send him to a family which I don't know, like of college professors or something like that, right? So where he would be guaranteed to get an education. But the family that did adopt Steve Jobs were kind of blue collar workers or something like that. They I don't think they had a college education. So she was really concerned, and she made them promise, or they promised her that don't worry, we'll send him to college. So they did send Steve Jobs to college, but he realized that man, they were stacking up debt and they were working um, their behinds off, trying to come up with the money, and he wasn't sure of the results that he was getting. Anyway, so he ended up dropping out of college. Now, here's the part where connecting the dots comes in. So once he dropped out of college, so think about it, man, this is so phenomenal. So when he was in the program, whatever he was studying, you just go there and it's like, oh yeah, I gotta go to these classes, and these ones are required, and these ones are elective, and all that stuff. Oh, I hope we're still on. Something happened. Okay, yeah, guys, on the YouTube, just do an audio check and let me know if you can still hear me. I'll keep going, and if the audio dropped, then we'll come back. So right, I mean, and it is the stuff that we are supposed to do. What happened here? Hold on, guys. So it is the stuff we're supposed to do, and often that's not where the fun is, or that's not where good things happen. So once he had dropped out, he was under no compulsion to take any course. He could do anything he wanted. So what he did was he tried to sit in on random classes, and one of the classes was a typesetting class. Now, typesetting, I think it's more to do with the print industry. There were no computers back then, or maybe there were only some computers, supercomputers, whatever. And there was certainly not the Mac. Mac wasn't there. That's sure. I said no Macs there. So typesetting was more to do with the kind of news industry, and we just learned some random stuff about typesetting. Now, of course, it just seems like a random thing, like typesetting. When are you ever going to use that? But we know what happens next. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, they end up creating the Mac. And when that came out, Mac had some of the best, not some of the best typography that you'd ever seen on a computer, right? I mean, the letters, they look beautiful. Now, of course, now if you look at them, it'll look like really crappy. But for their time, that was the most beautiful typography ever done. How do you think that happened? Well, thanks to his typesetting class. So sometimes things happen in our life where we don't really know when that's going to be used or how that's going to help, How does that fit into our overall story? But you need to trust that, and but only when you look back can you connect the dots. That was his message. That was one of the messages in his speech, right? Only when you look back and you connect the dots, and oh yeah, that thing led to that. How many times has it happened to you that something happened to you and it was like the worst thing in the world? So for me, it was losing my job at Washington Mutual when our daughter was about to be born. Man, I was pulling my hair out. I was depressed. I was sad, maybe even suicidal. Man, it was a hard time. Actually, I wasn't suicidal. That was high school. That's a whole other story. Um, so that was such a hard time. So something bad, really bad happens to you, but then you transcend that, and what do you say? That was the best thing that ever happened to me. I say that now about me leaving that job because, man, it just, um, I mean, it taught me so many lessons about myself, which I have. If I hadn't learned then I wouldn't have been able to take the steps that I did for my future journey to come, which was to leave my job at Microsoft, become an entrepreneur, solopreneur. Right. So only when you look back and you connect the dots. Now, how does that connect with Grace? Good question. I'm glad you asked that. So Grace, once she wrote about, hey guys, I don't know, for the past days, weeks, something. It was an extended period of time. I have, I like dove into this whole thing of web design and visual design, and so one of her friends, if I remember her story correctly, is into kind of web design, right? And maybe they looked at her site and said, well, you could do a few new things, and I think, and yeah, she basically spent some time learning from them about kind of web design and kind of tweaking the elements on a website. And she took her time. She really dove deep into this. By the way, that also gives you a glimpse into Grace's persona, right? I mean, she kind of latches onto something like, yep, I'm going to study it, right? So she did that a lot. Now, sometimes it is kind of conflicting, right? I mean, so I always talk about kind of focus, right? Less is more, niching down, all that stuff. While that is true, while that is always true, um, I think there's also room for this playfulness. And I don't know, I'm thinking about Google. How they have the 20% playtime. I don't know what they call it, but 20% of the time you can work on anything you want. I think we need that too, right? So for 20% of the time, let's say Google's number. 20% seems random, but whatever. If they thought of that, if it's working for them, it'll probably work for us. What if you allowed yourself to do something completely random, which you otherwise wouldn't do, right? How would those dots connect in the future? You don't know, and that's okay. And of course, a lot of these Google Labs, the 20% time stuff, a lot of them are failures, but again, they're no failures, right? I mean, if you learn a lesson from it, that's not a failure, right? So that's kind of the lesson from Grace, that don't focus is good, but allow this playtime for you as well, where you kind of go out there, just take a leap, just now I'm thinking of fishing, like how you cast out the line, just cast it out a little bit further, and I know fishing in this area, I know fishing is good, but what if I cast it out way over there? And really, that's one thing that I need to do more of, right? Because I'm so about like focus, less is more, right? That sometimes you just kind of extend beyond that. So in Grace's case, how do the dots connect? Well, design is in a way design, and a lot of the elements of web design also carry over to Power BI dashboard design, not like one to one. And again, that's where Grace's expertise comes in, that she can look at the web design world and see which elements transition over to that. So going through that experience has made Grace a better trainer about Power BI visualization, which is a key module in her 3-step program for Power BI addicts. Step 1, she focuses on kind of the query editor. Step 2 is kind of DAX modeling relationships. Step 3 is visualization. So in that step 3, that has made her a better trainer, just the way sitting in that typesetting class had Jobs led to Steve Jobs creating some of the best typography in the Mac, right? But again, when you're doing it, you would not be able to connect the dots. So connect the dots again. You got to remember that you can only connect the dots when you look back. So what does it really mean? That means you gotta kind of trust the universe, kind of thing, right? So yeah, you gotta, I'm just gonna go do this thing and don't do it with any expectation. And you're like, oh, this is gonna make more money. Sometimes suspend that thing. I want you to focus on money, on being successful, both inner and outer success. That's all good, but just for a while, sometimes suspend that and just go on a journey, cast out that net. All right, cool. How are we doing time? Oh my gosh, we're at number 5 and we're at 10 o'clock. Oh yeah, hopefully you guys can kind of hang with me here. A lot of you are. Um, okay, audio is fine. Thank you for checking. Leo is saying Avi, phenomenal. Teaches the customer English. Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah. So guys, think collaboration before competition, and I'm glad I was able to really exemplify that. So people would say, "Oh, this Kerbal, that's your competition, right?" And I'm like, "No, she's not. I've never thought about it that way." And of course, we brought Kerbal to our channel, and her talk is there as well. I want to bring in guys in a cube as well. So yeah, we'll see. Oh, this guy, this. Okay, I sneaked one in of my own, and it's kind of boring, but this is so sexy in my mind, if you ask. So, documentation, like what? What are you talking about, Avi? The documentation, seriously. But hey, here's what I saw. So, by the way, guys, when I was in college, I thought that I was always the top student or one of the top students in school, college, throughout. And if anything, that destroyed me because that set me up for failure. Because I thought that that's how life is going to be, No, you go to first grade and you kind of nail that, and you go to second grade and you nail that, and you go to third grade and nail that, and you keep going from there. Um, and that's not how life works at all. So I really struggled, mate. I mean, professionally, I felt like a disaster. I felt like such a loser. Now, of course, you can connect the dots, hint of the previous lesson, only when you look back. I felt like a loser because I had done so many roles in so many different places, in so many different companies, and I felt like I had amounted to nothing. But wait, you can only connect the dots looking back. When I look back, I couldn't have had better training, better preparation, a better life path for what I'm doing right now. Because since I'd done kind of everything and anything, and I'd worked in all different companies, worked with all kind of different people, and now that I'm kind of serving this community, man, I can talk to anybody. I mean, there is rarely when I am in a room with a client, with a prospect, with the student, whatever, that I can't form some connection with them because man, I've done it all, been there, right? Been there, done that. So that was connecting the dots. So when I was in college, I was studying computers and stuff, and this was the vision of my life. So again, I imagine life to be step by step: first grade, second grade, third grade, and so on. So in my vision, in my view, the steps were: um, you started off as a, I don't know if I knew about testing. I don't think I knew about testing back then. Yeah, I don't think I did. So you started off as a junior programmer, then you became a programmer, then you became a senior programmer, and then you became a team lead. Oh boy, now you're kind of getting to the big leagues. And after that was the project manager. And that was it. I had no conception beyond that. I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I want to be. That's what my journey is going to be. It didn't turn out that way. So I didn't really know about testing back then. I was doing Visual Basic. That's what I was studying. In school, I was kind of good at it. I would say I could answer questions. I did great in interviews, by the way. So yeah, fat law that helps you. I ended up being a tester, and I'm like, shit, this is worse than the lowest rung. And so yeah, I spent quite a time testing and quality assurance, different name, quality control, whatever. So doing that sort of stuff. And well, might I say, I kind of began to enjoy it. You know, But I saw something really interesting. So as I was testing the code of a lot of different programmers, which I wanted to be, but always the bridesmaid, huh? Never the bride. But I noticed something interesting that we have talked about this good to great, and I and the more so there were these great programmers whom everybody was in awe of. These were like guys like celebrities. I don't know if that still happens. Maybe that happens. I don't hang out with programmers that much. I'm sure that happens still, right? So yeah, I mean these are like gods or something. I mean, be like, whoa. So I knew who they were, and I knew the rest. And again, usually there's a big gap between the two, and the herd really thins out at this good to great. So I knew them, and then of course I would see their code, I would test their code, and so forth, and I found a connection that the great programmers consistently what I saw in their code was that it was extremely well documented, right? And that was really cool because and I could see that they were documenting it not just for themselves but for everybody else. And if you think about it, there are hints in this lesson of the previous lessons. Remember the teach the customer, teach the world? Charles Elwood, Kenneth Tyler, right? So they were not just doing the documentation for themselves; they were doing it kind of, for others as well. And I believe that that still differentiates the good to great in Power BI as well. I've seen the work of other consultants, and I can tell when it's a little bit sloppy. And frankly, in my mind, all I have to look at is that is it documented well enough or not? If it's not documented well enough, I know that the work is sloppy. I mean, probably the work is kind of shoddy as well. Because again, the greats, they really focus on documentation. It's kind of boring, but again, I mean, in my mind, it's sexy because it's so cool. So documentation, lots of different places. Query editor is the first place that comes in. If I see stuff like added column 1, added column 2, added column 3, yeah, your value, your stock in my mind has already dropped, right? So if you say no, added column, and you put a column name like added current year offset, added current month offset, added week, and so forth. And then I have lessons inside my course for sure, and I think on YouTube as well, where I talk about how I structure it, how I section it, how sometimes I would have sections, and I would say, oh, now I'm starting to do this, and I would have steps which are just label steps. The steps don't themselves do anything; they're just there to be a marker, a boundary, and so forth, right? So there's there, and then of course you can do right click and description, which shows up on hover, and then there's of course the measure documentation and all that stuff, and then you can build what I call like a data dictionary. That sounds like a little geeky, but automatically out of your metadata. I'm not going to go into all of that, but you see that, man, I have thought about it quite a bit, and of course I've done quite a bit for my customers. Do I get sloppy at times? Yes, right. Am I perfect at all times? No, I do leave sometimes added column 1, added column 2. But again, if you want to play in the big leagues, if you want to get to that level, man, I feel this is a habit which I don't know. I feel like it has other connections. It is bigger than it really seems. It has, I don't know, teach the world, teach the customer. Something is there, but I know that this opens to a whole new world and it sets you in that big leagues. All right, so hopefully I've convinced you about documentation. Focus on that. You don't have to be perfect all the time, but even a little bit more would be a lot better. It actually sounds kind of nice. A little bit more would be a lot better. Wow, we are at number 7. And that's Diego Lopez. And, oh man, let me just get to it. So, don't be afraid to dream big. Now, first of all, is it a habit? I think it is. We'll come back and talk about that. But let me share with you Diego's dream. And this was one of our early conversations, one of our first conversations. And so Diego is based in Mexico, and he does Power BI training. And guys, a lot of people do Power BI training, right? How many people do you know who do Power BI training? At least 2 now, Diego and me. But here's the thing, friend. So Elon Musk, you know the guy, you know his companies, right? There's Tesla, there's SpaceX. Let's talk about SpaceX. What is SpaceX? SpaceX is really a a vertical trucking company. That's what it is. By the way, that's not, I didn't come up with that. The one who came up with that is Vishen Lakhiani, Mind Valley. Check him out. Really awesome. SpaceX is a vertical trucking company. That's what it is. It's a trucking company. That's what they do. They haul cargo from one place to the other. Just so happens that one place to the other is Earth and, the ISS space station or something like that. Or put a satellite in orbit. That's what it is. That's what it is. That's what, if you really look at what that is, that's all that it is. It's a vertical trucking company. Diego Lopez, what is he doing? He's doing Power BI training. Lots of other people are doing it. It's not about that. It's about your vision. What is Elon Musk's vision? Does he see that as a trucking company? He's like, oh yeah, I'm going to build the best trucking company in the outer space and all that stuff. No. How does he see it? What is his vision? His vision is to back up the human race. What? What? Back up the human race? Yeah, it makes sense, right? You back up your computer, don't you? I hope you do. I used to have this external hard drive, and I promised my wife that I would do backups. I never did them. Well, thank God for OneDrive and Dropbox and G Drive and whatever, all that stuff. Now it's automatic, right? It gets backed up to the cloud. Right? And they hopefully back it up some other place. So, we back up stuff that we care about. Do we care about the human race? Do we care about humankind? We do. But, man, the world is kind of in a tricky place. I mean, of course, just talk about the nuclear threat. I mean, all the nuclear bombs, we can wipe out Earth and humanity, well, not Earth. Earth will still be there. Right? We can wipe out the human race many, many times. And of course, that's just one affair. There's the whole coronavirus, bird flu, all of that, food shortage, population growth. Human race is important. Shouldn't we think about backing it up? That's his vision. What if he went to Mars, colonized it, terraformed it, did something? It's not going to happen overnight, but that's his big vision. And of course, Simon Sinek talks about this infinite game. In a way, that's the infinite game. I mean, it may never be done. Like, what do we do after we back up human race to Mars? Ooh, can we back it up to another galaxy? Right? Wait, no, not another galaxy. Another solar system? Same galaxy. Then we'll go to another galaxy, right? Who knows, right? So, in a way, that's an infinite game. Right? So, well, you see the difference there. Trucking company, back up human race. Like, what? Right? That's, that again, that good to great. We're talking about that. The gap between that, guys, is huge. I wish it wasn't. Obviously, like, yeah, you do this thing and you go from good to great, right? But the gap is huge. I think you can get there, but you gotta kind of start to think differently, which is where this comes in. So Elon Musk, vertical trucking company, back up human race. Diego Lopez, doing Power BI training, just like all of us, just like Avi, lots of other folks out there. And then Diego talks to me on the phone, and he shares his vision. I don't even think he saw it that way. It was just what he was doing. And frankly, man, don't you love those guys who do something awesome, but they're they don't even realize. And they're just so humble about, no, that's just me. Oh, isn't everybody like that? No, Diego, not everybody's like that. So Diego, just in a casual conversation. Again, I don't think you realize that. And I'm gonna tell it a little differently. That's not how Diego get. Diego is really low key. Yeah, this is what I'm trying to do. So guys, if you think about it, so Diego is from Mexico. Spanish is the language they speak. If you think about the whole world, there is a large chunk, right, and which does not speak English as a native language, right, and right, so there's a large chunk of population which does not speak English as their native language. But the knowledge of the world, let's just focus on Power BI, right? The knowledge in this Power BI world is almost exclusively in English, right? What, 95, 98%? Quite true, right? All that knowledge is English. Isn't that unfair? Right? How is that fair? How is that just? Diego's cause is to bring parity to that. Make that fair. Make that just. Right? I mean, and so bring that knowledge. Why should it be locked away? Right? And if you look about how the world is structured, well, certainly kind of a lot of the developed nations, they have access to English. They know English. But all of these other countries which are not so developed, or underdeveloped, or still developing, that's where a big population is there which does not speak English, right? So they're kind of deprived. They're the ones who could use this the most, because they're the ones who need to be uplifted the most, and they're the ones who don't have access to it. Doesn't it make you fucking angry? It makes me angry, right? It makes me really upset and mad. This is so unfair. Diego's mission is to bring justice to that. Bring access to this knowledge which has been locked away in this English vault to the masses, to the world. Now, of course, his language, Spanish, is going to focus on that. You see that, mate? I mean, a trucking company, backup human race, right? Trucking company, backup human race. Oh, I'm going to train in Power BI. I do Power BI training. I'm going to bring justice to the world. Oh, my freaking God. Guys, that is unbelievably at a whole different level. Hey, so how is this a habit? And again, right? So most people, we just go about their lives. Hey, I was like that for a long time. So I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. That was me for a large part of life. I let life happen to me. It was I didn't create my life. It wasn't life by design. It was life by accident, right? We talked about modeling by design, modeling by accident, dashboard by design, dashboard by accident. But most people let life happen to you. And it takes something else to step out of that, to break out of that, right? And I think one thing that can really propel you in that direction is this habit of dreaming big, stepping outside, playing that infinite game. You may never be able to do it, right? But you gotta play the game. That's where the magic is. That's what makes you an effective, amazing, superhuman, superpowered Power BI professional and human on earth. Whew. Oh my gosh. 10:15. Okay, cool. I think I did reasonably well in time. Thanks to everybody who stayed. I think number 7 was really big. Let's scroll through a few comments on. Where did my? Oh, there it is. Found it. Okay, so the chat on this was blown up. Now I have no idea if you guys were talking to each other or talking to me. Okay, cool. Then there was a lot of conversation going on. Let me see. I'll read some of the comments. Okay, yeah. Yeah, Leo's saying I got really quiet. Yeah, yeah. Actually, you can use that trick on the stage as well. By the way, it works really well. So on stage, if you wanna, if they're not listening to you, if you want them to grab attention, one thing you can do is just go absolutely quiet. Just don't say anything. It's really scary. It's like, oh, you were like counting down the seconds, but man, does it get their attention. And of course, you can go kind of quiet, and they're like, they're gonna huddle in. So I don't know if it works as well online, but I guess I do it out of habit now. Yeah, I kind of started off doing a lot of in-person trainings and speaking conferences and Toastmasters, that sort of stuff. Okay, cool. All right, some conversation. All right, cool. All right, folks. So, well, let me know. Let me know if you learned one new thing, one useful thing out of this, and if you will, which one? Oh, do I have a recap slide? Recap slide. I do. Yay! So how about we do this? How about you vote in for your favorite? And again, you don't say all and all that stuff. It helps to have more clarity and say the one that resonated the most with you. Let's go with that. I'll just recap, just to, I know the YouTube is, there's a lag, so let's just do, so number 1 is listen to your customer. That's by Marianne from Team Avi. Number 2 is teach the customer. That's from Charles Elwood. That's the sending the Loom video trick. Number 3 is teach the world. Kenneth Tyler, again, go out there, participate in forums, blogs. That's how Kenneth does, or find other ways to do it. Number 4 was the constant feedback. And this, as I was talking to you, the two key things we focused on were kind of these. I'm going to call them lunch hour opportunities, which is you pull somebody aside, right? So again, often I'm working with remote clients, but again, you can find a way to kind of pull them aside and talk to them. And the other is that, I don't know, maybe somebody else can get the feedback for you. Surveys are okay, but I'm really thinking of a person. Number 5, we talked about connecting the dots. So maybe the Google's idea of 20% time, just go out there, cast that net wide, something that doesn't connect right now, but maybe in future will in ways that you may not see right now. And that's okay. Would all of them work out? Probably not, but that's okay. That's a lesson too. Documentation is cool. And last one, made Diego Lopez. That was incredible. Don't be afraid to dream big. And yeah, maybe dedicate some time to be your own CEO and think about kind of your own life, and that'll give you the time to kind of start to dream big. All right, folks. Hopefully you enjoyed the session, learned at least one thing new. I will see you next time. Until then, power on.